my manifestation was to be the number one agent in the country. I had a 2-year run where that was everything I thought, everything I worked towards, everything I ate, everything I drank, everything I did was to become the number one real estate agent in the continental U.S. in terms of size.
Hello, welcome to episode 157 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter, and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we are joined by Kyle Seyboth, broker owner of Century 21 Limitless, based in Providence, Rhode Island. When Kyle broke into the real estate industry, he had one goal: to be the number one ranked agent in the country. In 2019, he did just that and was named Real Trends number one realtor nationwide. Over the course of his career, Kyle maintained a fierce drive to be number one and has built a powerhouse brokerage. Throughout our conversation, Kyle shares how he grew his business to achieve that number one ranking, how utilizing video and digital marketing has helped him connect with potential clients, and how he has built his brokerage into the size it is today. But before we get on to today's featured interview, we have an exciting announcement to make. The all-new Smart Agents magazine has launched and is full of insights and strategies designed to help real estate agents grow their businesses. Inside, you will find interviews and advice from leading real estate professionals, marketing tips to flood your business with leads, and even swipe and deploy files full of practical tools to enhance your business. Subscribe now to receive your copy of the printed magazine each month and instantly get access to our online agent community and members-only templates. Click the link in the episode description or go to smartagents.com/magazine. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now Amazon Music. And finally, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tips to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on to today's featured interview with Kyle Seyboth. If you're interested in seeing more from Kyle, I've included links to his Instagram and YouTube pages in the episode description. If you could, just as we get started out, if you could just introduce yourself to us a little bit, who you are and where you're at in the country.
Yes, so my name is Kyle Seyboth, and I am located here in East Providence, Rhode Island, and just an entrepreneur, do a ton of stuff, real estate related, real estate focused. Love the game, love the grind, love the hustle.
Yeah, what was it that got you interested in real estate and entrepreneurship when, as you were getting started out?
So I think at the end of the day, I really got started from working a 9-to-5, and with that 9-to-5, it forced me to understand and value that entrepreneurship was much more interesting to me, because I realized that this just wasn't for me. So I went in every day, and it just wasn't giving me kind of what I was looking for, right? So I lived in a mundane type situation for about 10 years. Started to get into real estate part-time and sold a couple houses my first year, sold 7 houses. And then fast forward 10 years, ended up selling over 500 plus houses the last 2 or 3 years. So really just took it and took the bull by the horns and just ran with it and just kept rocking and rolling.
What was it as you were starting to gain steam and then really, catapulting your career? What was it that you were doing and kind of changing in your business to start gaining that traction?
I think what it was I started to become a student of the game of real estate. And what I mean by that is I really started to focus on what other successful agents were doing, and then started to pour gasoline on. I said, if they can do that, let me do this. And let me just really focus on building this business as big and as powerful as I possibly can. And I think that's what happened. So it was that start of understanding, how do people generate leads? What do they do with leads when they generate them? Where do they go, throughout their career, as far as how do you get seller leads? How do you get buyer leads? What does that look like? So I think all those things were helpful, and it really allowed me to understand and study some of the best in the game, and then take my level to another level.
Yeah. Who were some of those people that you were kind of looking to as those guides that, you really wanted to pick, some of those tips from?
So back then, it was a while ago. It was some of the local agents in our area that performed at a level that at that time was kind of unprecedented, in the sense that we really didn't have anyone mirroring those numbers. So, the numbers I do now are much higher. because I feel like I have a huge work ethic and also a good network. And I'm very grateful and have a ton of gratitude towards that. But I think what I was doing at the time was watching some of these localized agents and seeing what they're doing to generate their business. So, there was probably two or three or a handful of folks that I was just kind of paying attention to. And then that just grew into me figuring out how to do it on my end.
Right. When it came to the lead generation, what were some of the things that you started doing that maybe you weren't doing before, checking out all these other people and seeing what they were doing?
So it became a situation where I understood the value of investing in your business and the difference between a fixed expense, a variable expense, and an investment. So I decided to really focus on investments versus focusing on expenses. Expenses are things that help you operate the business. Investments are things that return on your investment. So what I started to do was focus more of my energy and my resources on actual investments versus focusing on building building up this massive expense category that I couldn't get out of.
Right. How much of a change mindset wise was that for you, coming from maybe the 9 to 5, world where you were, collecting a paycheck every couple of weeks. You didn't have, you weren't putting the investment into your business to grow. How big of a flip was that for you?
I mean, that was a 180. It was a complete mindset, mind F, if you want to look at it that way. And what it was you were saying, okay, I'm going to go from being an employee to a business owner. And when you look at the 4 different levels of folks in the world, your quadrant that you were in is totally different, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's truly focusing on how can I as a person go from being that worker bee to going to be someone that's going to start a business and start an investment and go from there. So it was a totally different game, totally different process.
Right. Once you started, seeing the success and seeing the gains that you were growing, what was that, trajectory like?
So it went from on the sales side from 7 transactions to 14 to 22 to 44 to 88 to 100 to 191 to 400. So it just pretty much went up and to the right and continued to go at a level that was, really, really high, but a really super fast pace. And I think that fast pace allowed me to see the fruits of my labor. And I think it was the fruits of my labor that really put me in a good spot and, gave me that positivity that I needed and changed my mindset and put me in a whole different position.
Right. Tell me about, the, getting those top agent awards and, really kind of getting to the top level of your game as this, you were hitting your peak here.
My manifestation was to be the #1 agent in the country. I had a 2-year run where that was everything I thought, everything I worked towards, everything I ate, everything I drank, everything I did was to become the #1 real estate agent in the continental US in terms of sides, transaction sides. And I did everything physically and mentally and emotionally possible to get there. And in 2019, I achieved it. So what did it mean to me? It meant truly that anything's possible. It meant that at the end of the day, someone from the smallest state in the U.S. was able to accomplish one of the biggest goals in the game. And it really kind of put me on the map and said, hey, this guy's real. Let's pay attention. And I think now I'm catching my wind and really catching my stride and, in a good spot, mentally, physically healthy, really, really in a good position. So excited.
Right. Tell me about, so, you now are, the broker owner of your Century 21 Limitless. Tell me about that and starting that and getting all that kicked off.
So that started 2020. We've been in business for about 3 years now, August 2020. So 3 years in business. We've got 250 agents. There was a fast migration towards our bringing agents aboard. And I think there was a lot of hype and a lot of hysteria on the move. And a lot of people were excited in our localized market. So it's been a blessing to be able to give back to some of the folks that at the end of the day, these are the same folks that at the end of the day, were competitors, now they're allies. So I think that's the beauty of it, was that fundamental change from someone being, hey, how do I compete with this guy, to now how do I work with this guy under, the same branch. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's giving back, it's helping, it's coaching, it's teaching, it's mentoring, it's all of the above.
Right. Tell me about, the thought process, and just going from, achieving that top agent status to then, starting your own business and starting your own brokerage. What was it that kind of like you achieved the first goal and now it's time to hit the next?
Yeah. So I think it was what's next. It was more of a what's next complex. So it was like, okay, great. You got through that. You got there. Goal number one's complete. But what's next? Do you want to be the guy that continues to hump the ground and really be the number one person year in and year out? But you've already proved that. So why do you keep doing that? So it's like, how can you perform at a high level? How can you run multiple successful businesses? And how can you generate income that puts you in a position where you could be financially free for the rest of your life? And I think that ultimately is the ecosystem of the goals that I try to set for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were, putting this team together and starting to recruit people, obviously, locally, your name and just, the success you're having has to be something that's drawing people. But what were you specifically looking for in people to join your team?
So the way we're set up is not truly as a team. It's set up as a brokerage. And we were just looking for good people that wanted to grow, that wanted to sustain or better their business, or wanted to have a place that felt like home. And I think it's that place that felt like home that allowed us to provide, opportunity for people that otherwise they would have never came. So I think it's, we're a real estate brokerage run by a real estate agent, and a real estate agent that participates actively in the market and understands what's going on day in and day out. Not many agencies can say that. A lot of them have brokers that haven't sold a house in 10, 15, 20 years. You're getting a broker that sells every single day, can answer your questions, give you real-time analysis and understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. That so many of the times when I talk to people that they are either, are one of those people that aren't necessarily out in the field every day or working, for somebody like that. One of the things that I've seen that, some of your videos and things is that you've described your brokerage as flexible and adaptable. What does that mean to you?
Whether you're a first-time agent that's never sold a property, you're an experienced agent that's top 50 in the state, you're a team that's looking to grow and add buyer agents and listing agents, or you're an agent that does part-time that's just looking to kind of hang their license somewhere, we have the flexibility and adaptability for you to be comfortable and for you to be happy. And there's not a question, there's not a comment, there's not a concern that I can't help you with or have someone on my staff help give you an answer for.
Right. When it comes to, the actual, training and those answering those questions, and even just the different ways that people do business, how open are you to having people, bring in their own ideas and do what it takes to get them?
We have a 1,000% open door policy. Our open door policy is truly what it's defined to be. You have an idea, bring it forward. You have a complaint, bring it forward. You have a concern, bring it forward. You have an accolade you'd like to talk about, bring it forward. We are fully adaptable to what our agents are looking for, and we want to provide everything that they could ever want in a brokerage. We call it a one-stop shop. We want to be that one-stop shop for any agent.
Yeah. Kind of switching gears a little bit over to your digital marketing and the video production you do. I mean, you do a ton of stuff and it looks amazing. I was, really kind of diving through your YouTube pages and your Instagram pages, everything the last few days. And I really love the way everything looks. Tell me about what got you interested in starting to put yourself out there, in the digital space.
I think it's a necessity in the current marketplace. And if you want to build a brand and you want to be known as top of mind in your space, you've got to have notoriety. You've got to have visibility. You can't be the secret agent. You've got to be someone that everyone can relate to. They can understand. And you somewhat acquiesce to what's going on out there for all the other agents. And I think the beauty of what we're trying to do is present an image of someone that can be relatable, someone that has knowledge, someone that's credible, someone that understands the ins and outs of a real estate transaction and can take it from a position of where do I start to awesome, we finished. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. I said, in the one, trying to think of the name of it right now. There's the series where you're out in the field, and I feel like
Real in the field. Yeah.
Real in the field. Yeah. And that series, you really do kind of, as a viewer, you kind of get that fly on the wall that you're in, the room with you as you're talking with the contractor. What was it that, kind of developing that series? What were you looking for there?
I think we're always doing trial and error. And I think the biggest thing that I want to provide to the general public is I want to add value. And I want to add value in a way that gives you something from my content versus just producing content to produce content. Let's figure out a way to add value, right? And add some value that people are going to be really interested in. And I think that's the beauty of kind of where this thing goes, is that we're always looking to change. We're always looking to participate in kind of like the new, whatever is new or whatever's hip or whatever's going on. And I think the value add that we can bring to the table from ultimately the social media and the content, and we're real in the field, we give you ins and outs of what is actually taking place when we do an inspection or we go through as an investor, and so on and so forth.
Right. With that series in particular, you obviously have the contractors and some of your, the people you're working with vendor wise. What is that, how has that been getting them on camera? And then also what has it done to kind of, just build that relationship and build that authority for both parties that are involved?
I think it gives them visibility, it gives them credibility, and it allows people to understand, hey, they partner with someone who really understands the real estate game. So it gives a certain level of viability to what they do. And it's been a really good relationship, and it's really helped. It's really helped my business grow. It's helped their business grow, and I think there's a lot of value for me. It's like almost practice. I see myself getting on a much bigger stage at some point, and I see this being a situation where I can help the masses and really provide value to other real estate agents that are looking to grow their business. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just in your videos, I mean, just in the ones, I mean, I personally learned, different things about the homes in your area and things like that. And, if I were, looking for a home, having that, that level of education and really kind of, being able to explain things, to the home buyers almost as if they were standing right there in that room, I think is really valuable.
Yeah, no, I think that's why we kind of went that route. And I think the other thing is you have to stay consistent, but also adapt to different ideas, different theology, different thought process. And I think that's what we're looking to do, is to grow in a way where we don't just provide the same content over and over and it becomes monotonous and boring. We mix it up. So we actually met a week or so ago and talked about how can we mix it up and add some different value.
Right. Absolutely. And you obviously you have the, more of the market trends type videos you're doing as well. And, how have you seen, those videos work for you? And then also, just kind of adapt as everybody else is starting to, as video is becoming such a major part of the industry.
I think they're a necessity. I don't think that it's something that's necessarily translated into a boku amount of business, but I think it's a necessity for someone that wants to stay top of the game. If you're not producing videos, if you're not producing at that level, I think you're going to be left behind. And I think more and more agents are either going to get with it or get lost. And unfortunately, if you want to be a high producer, you have to get with it. And I think it's uncomfortable and it's not a fun place to be because no one likes how they sound or look or feel, but you got to just go with it. And if this business means that much to you, then you got to make that sacrifice, and that uncomfortability that you can have, you got to make sure that you get there.
What are, so for somebody that says, I'm so afraid of being on camera, it makes me lock up and I'm so nervous. And I'm sure you probably, work with agents that, that you're trying to coach and get on camera. What are some of those things that that you teach or give advice for to get comfortable?
You have to get out of your comfort zone, and the only way to do it is to start now. if you don't ever do it, you're always going to say what if. And I think the trainer Glover, the trainer for whatever his name, Grover, whatever his name is, Jordan's trainer, says it all the time, that if you think the price to pay for success is real, the price to pay for regret is even realer, and something to that nature. And I think the regret you would have from not doing it is a bigger regret than the sacrifice you're going to have to make from doing it. So I think it's a function of just getting out there and doing it. Just be a
Yeah.
doer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in today's world, that, client relationship and just that, interacting with your sphere of influence, there's only so much time in the day, and doing videos like that gets you out to such a broader audience, and, you can connect with so many more people at a given time.
Well, it really, what it does is it says, oh, okay, real estate 101 is to contact as many people as you can and stay top of mind. Well, this is the best possible, easiest, most efficient way to stay top of mind. There's nothing more, nothing less. I mean, this is the easiest way to stay top of mind.
Yeah. So when you are bringing in new leads and things like that, what are some of your, outside of the videos, what are some of the things that you're doing to stay connected and stay top of mind with these leads?
So it's still paying for leads. It's still paying for performance. It's paying to play. It's going to open houses. It's networking. It's staying in front of my business networking group. It's staying in front of past clients. It's email marketing. It's social media. It's text blasting. It's wholesaling. It's everything possible to stay in front of people to make your name a household name.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, what you mentioned there, you talked about, still paying for leads, but then you also talked about all the different things to do once you get that lead to stay in front of them. And I think that is such a big thing. I hear people talking all about, I've wasted so much time on paying for these leads, but it's what did you do with that contact information?
With that contact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. What, what is some of your biggest advice for agents that maybe do have that, mindset of I've paid for all these leads and maybe I'm not getting a return right away, and, to keep that ball moving?
I think there's now leads, and I think there's leads, there's future leads and there's present leads. And I think you've got to understand, what are you going to, like, what kind of leads are you paying for and what does that turn into? And I think at the end of the day, understanding that every lead isn't a now buyer or a now seller, and you have to kind of manifest that into a transaction down the road from nurturing it, is the biggest thing. And if you build a big enough database, then over time, it just starts to permeate into real leads.
Right. As you were, building this business that you have, and I have to imagine the amount of leads that you have is huge. So
Huge.
what is the, how big of a, I guess, putting different processes and systems to making sure that, that this is a now lead versus this is somebody that is going to be more on a drip campaign. This is somebody that I'm going to check in with every couple of months or so. How vital is that to having sustained success?
It's the most vital thing to sustain success is consistency with leads, follow up, dripping on them, understanding the value of you think about Walmart and Target and some of these big major corporations, they pay for what's called big data, and data is just phone numbers, email addresses, and names. And I think that's a function of, if we have that same data, how can we monetize that? And I think you have to run your business as if you're a Walmart, Target, CVS, whatever, and monetize the data you have. And I think there's a blueprint to success, but a lot of us don't want to take that path because it's hard. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. And I can coach people up to be the greatest real estate agent in the world. I'll tell you exactly what to do, how to get there, but you've got to be willing to put the time in. I put 16 hours a day and 7 days a week. I used to work like a dog. I still do. But my way of life and my ability to improve my personal life, to improve my professional life, has been the big change. That's the game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about your motivations and your growth, over your business. A lot of your followers, we've seen on, in your videos, and that, you mentioned Michael Jordan's trainer. So I've seen, a lot of your videos have, those motivational messages and things
Right.
like that. What, what are some of the tips and advice that you can give people to start, changing their own mindset like that and having that, that hustle mindset? And
You have to live like you could die tomorrow. You have to live like you don't got another chance. Like you're never going to be 35, 42, 55, 27 years old ever again. And if you don't seize that opportunity, when you're 85, when you're 95, when you're 105, you're going to live with a bunch of what ifs. And if you are okay with living with those what ifs, then continue to do what you're doing now. If you're not, we've got a mindset shift you into a position where you start to get that killer Mamba mentality. And I think it's that Mamba mentality that allows folks to be in a position to want to achieve greatness, to want to be at a super high level, and to really ultimately want to get to a position where they are king of the kingdom. They are queen of the castle. They are whatever that looks like. And that's what it comes down to. How bad do you want it? How much are you willing to sacrifice? And what's your driver? What's your why?
Yeah, absolutely. When, for you specifically, was that drive something you always had, or was that,
I had it. I've always been an athlete.
Mhm.
So I think that athletic background is just in me. So like I don't relate to people that don't have it. I can't be around it. I don't want to be around it. I don't want it next to me. I don't want it to wear it. So like that's just how I'm built. It's just how I operate.
Yeah, absolutely. I picked up on the athlete, with the Mamba references, the Kobe Bryant, that's it's one of those things. If you know what
If
those
you know, you
references,
know. If
yeah,
you know, you
exactly.
know.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that everybody that I've talked to that has had an athletic background, the drive and the understanding, every athlete will tell you, it's the game portion of it, and the actual, the glory of it is such a small portion of their day to day or their career. It's all that practice and all that training
Mhm.
you go through. So I think having that experience for yourself, you understand, the grind of things.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's the whole. I mean it's the same grind. Just it's a transferable skill, just in a different arena. So instead of playing in a gym, which you're just playing in the office, just playing a
Yeah.
different game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, I want to ask you, looking back on your career, what do you think the number one thing is that flipped the switch and got you to the success that you're at today?
So what got me here won't get me there. What I mean by that is what got me to this position is not going to get me to where I want to go. I think the switch flipped when I made a bet on myself, and I said I don't need a fixed income. I don't need a job. I need to go be the best version of me. And I just think when I said that to myself and I carried that forward, it changed the game.
Yeah. Well, I said, before we wrap up, but you mentioned it here again, where you're going. And you mentioned about, you have these aspirations, these vision for yourself. What are your future goals?
I have what I call C-level goals. And C-level goals are goals that I don't know if you're familiar with that term or not, but basically my goal is to be a billionaire with a B. Um, I don't know how I'm going to get there. I just know I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there by serving and helping a ton of people. I'm going to get there by providing value to a ton of people. And I'm going to leave this earth a better place around what I'm doing than when I was in it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, tell me where people can find more of
You
your
guys can
Instagram.
find me on social media. You just put my name in there. I don't really know how to do it, but if you put my name in there, you put the Seyboth team in there, all the stuff comes up. YouTube, everywhere, whatever you want to do. Hopefully, your viewers find this interesting, and hopefully, it's something that they could take and run with. But find me on there, message me, and I'm rocking and rolling.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
I really want to thank Kyle for joining us today. It's always inspiring to see someone setting goals like Kyle and grinding to achieve them. Remember, if you're interested in seeing more, I've included links to his Instagram and YouTube pages in the episode description. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tips to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.